Morning, good morning, good morning. Facebook world. Let's get ready to do it. Let's get ready to do it. Oh, crud, where's my pen? Put it in the book. Hey, Bethany. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hopefully Facebook will be good to you this morning. If not, you know, you can always jump over to the scope. All right, we ready, man. Let's rock it. Let's rock it. I did, man. I'm gonna have to check it out. Man. I'm glad that you did the separate channel. That's what I would have recommended. You know, but you can still bring your personality into both, and we'll talk about branding that and getting your website up. I don't know how much time you have, but we'll get it together. All right, so let me mute that out. Yeah, let's go live to the scope. There we go.
Like Kanye West says, having money is not everything, not having it is. So Deuteronomy 8:18 says God gives us the ability to create wealth. No, it's the love of money that's wrong. You don't want money so much, why would you have to go to work? Yes, I do think about all the things that my things got to say. I'm just trying to leave a legacy for my kids. Not everything, but when you got it, you can do some cool stuff. And now, your host for Talking Money in the Morning, financial mentor to the working class, Cortez.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to Talking Money in the Morning Live with your main man, H. Cortez, the one and only financial health mentor to the black community, everybody's favorite fatherpreneur, where I do my absolute best to bring practical, proven, wealth-building strategies to working men and women all over this great nation of ours. It is truly an honor, privilege, and a pleasure to be coming to you live and direct from the Thornton Online Marketing Studios here in St. Louis, Missouri. Guys, if you are not familiar with Thornton Online Marketing, it's basically your go-to for all things branding and marketing when it comes to building your business online, and a lot of the strategies actually transfer to offline business as well. So I want to implore you that if you are not using video in your marketing, then you have an opportunity to register for our video marketing class, which will be live and direct, hosted by yours truly. And I will teach you everything that I know as it relates to using videos to build and grow your brand. I use three things that helped me to grow my brand and explode it to a national brand, and soon to be a global brand with some other things that I have coming down the pipe. But I use a YouTube channel, I use a personal blog, and I use Facebook. And all three of those components have a heavy dose of live videos. So if you want to learn how to use live videos, and I want you to click on the link in the description. It's $47. It's a 2.5-hour course, and you will get the How to Win with Facebook Ads class to go along with that. So once you get good at doing videos, you'll know how to market those videos on Facebook to make them explode your brand even more. Because I've been able to run a Facebook ad to a video and have that video have less and pay less than 1 cent per engagement based on what I teach in that course. So check it out. And I don't think you'll be disappointed at all. And I always try to over deliver when I do these classes. So I'm going to teach you the several different ways to use videos. Even if you don't like to get in front of the camera, there's a way that you can use video to still explode your brand. So you want to check that out. Do me a huge favor, if you're checking us out on Periscope, then go ahead and make sure that you subscribe to the feed and share this with your followers and post on Twitter. You guys who are on YouTube, do the same thing. Copy the link, share it to your favorite social media platform. Guys, I am at 926, trying to top 1,000 subscribers by the end of this month. So do me a huge favor and hit the subscribe button. And you guys on Facebook, if you don't normally watch the show on YouTube, at some point during the day, go over to the YouTube channel at Financial Health Mentor and just hit the subscribe button as we try to hit the next level in our YouTube subscriptions. And as always, you guys do a wonderful job on Facebook, sharing and getting the notifications out and things of that nature. But do me a huge favor. Click the likes and the thumbs up, because that lets Facebook know that we have a valuable show. And that's the only way that we can contend with the ratchetness, guys. If we all participate, comment, like, and share positive information, that's how we compete with the ratchetness that is out there in the marketplace. And for those of you who may be new and never seen the show before, I want to let you know exactly who the show is for. The show is for risers and grinders only. If you're ready to get up, get out, and get something, then this is your show. The show is for legacy builders, man. You got to be about building a legacy for you and your family. If you are not, this is the wrong place to be, because everybody on this stream is striving to build a legacy for their families, and we're helping each other do that. This is a community movement that is plowing through the black community, and we're only picking up passengers who are about this life. If you are not it, you can exit stage left, right? Every night before I lay down to sleep, man, I'm thinking and I'm visualizing what I'm going to do the next day, the next week, the next month, and I'm saying to myself, what am I going to do to make sure my children's children are proud to bear my last name? If that's you, this is your show. On the other hand, if you are not about any of that stuff, and you're that person who got that weird relationship with money, you think money is evil, you think capitalism is a dirty word, you think wealthy people are snobs, then how dare you get on this stream with all these wealthy people and think that we are snobs? Because we're not, right? We are about building wealth and building community. Economic empowerment and community development is what we're about on this show. If you're not about that life, please exit stage left. Right? Like I tell you each and every morning, I have no problem with you not wanting to be wealthy. I only have a problem with you when you have a problem with me wanting to be wealthy. If you don't want to be wealthy, don't allow my aspirations to rub you the wrong way. So many people are cool with where they are, but then when other people are trying to do great things, it pisses them off for some reason. I never understood that for the life of me. Why does my aspirations to be great tick you off? Ha ha! I know why. Because it sheds a light on your lack of ambition. So if that's you and you don't want that light to be shown on you, then you might want to exit stage left. Right? So again, another announcement before we get into the show. If you have not already teamed up with the Black Wealth Movement, you are missing out. We are growing by the day, and people are seriously taking their financial futures into their own hands. So if you are not part of the movement and you want to be, I want you to comment Black Wealth Movement in the comments, or I want you to inbox me or message me directly, and somebody is willing to pay it forward for you to join this movement, as long as you are committed to your family, building a legacy, your community, teaching others financial empowerment once you learn it yourself, and then paying it forward for others to join the movement. If that's you, then we'd love to have you. I'd love to pay it forward for you to join this movement and become an ambassador of financial literacy and education to our community, so we can advance the cause of economic empowerment and community development for Black people. So today's show, we're doing a study on Joyce C. Fraser's 7 moral and spiritual principles. This is part 1. I already know I'm not going to get through all 7, so we'll do part 1 today, part 2 on Thursday, because tomorrow we have another My Brother's Keeper speaker series with a young man who is tearing the internet up with his unique style of entrepreneurship, and I call him a financial freedom architect, man, because if you want to know how to get yourself free financially, he can craft a plan that can get you there using the internet and all of today's technology. And his name is Marquel Russell. So today, part one of George C. Fraser's 7 Moral and Spiritual Principles of Success. Right. So basically what I'm doing is, guys, I picked this book up. This is one of George C. Fraser's early pieces. And I picked this up at I was at a community event. We was in my community. We were breaking ground on a brand new park in our community, and there was some vendors out, and they had this available for just $10, right? Just $10. No, $5. $5. So anything I see with George C. Fraser on it for $5, I had to grab it. And I want you to know that this, I just started reading this yesterday, and this one chapter has blessed my life already, and has poured way more than $5 worth of value into who I am. So I wanted to share that with you guys today. So he talks about in this book, it's called Race for Success. Race for Success. Right, the 10 best business opportunities for blacks in America. But we're going to do the 7 principles, and then maybe next week we'll go over those 10 that he believes are the best opportunities for the black community. And this was published, I think, 10 or 15 years ago, so it may be outdated with the 10 best business opportunities. So I'll review that and see if that's something that we should actually study and draw out a little bit further. Yeah, see, this one was 1988. So this one is, 1998. This was 1998. So almost 20 years ago. So I'm sure some of those business opportunities may in fact be obsolete. But we'll look into them, and knowing George are probably universally applicable, and there are probably some core industries that we still should be involved in today. But so let's get on to the 7 moral and spiritual principles of success, part 1. Number 1, as black people, we should be seeking spiritual growth always. We should be seeking spiritual growth always. Now, I'm going to try to tread as lightly as I can with this, but you guys know I just pour from the heart, right? As black people, we got to get out of our spiritual boxes, and to say it more accurately, we've got to get out of our religious boxes. We have to get out of our religious boxes, because religion boxes in spirituality. I'm going to say it again. And I hope I don't offend anybody. I hope I can speak freely and we still be friends. Everybody type in the chat, friends, right? If I can speak freely and we still be friends, that will lift the weight off my shoulders, right? We've got to get out of our religious box, because that religious box stifles spiritual growth. We've got to get out of our religious box, because that religious box stifles spiritual growth. Right? Okay, Phyllis, we can still be friends and I can speak freely, because most of you guys know that I'm a Christian man. You know, I'm a Christian man. But here's the thing about Christianity and spirituality that I think a lot of Christians are scared to deal with, right? I know that as a Christian man, and I know the things that God has for me are for me, but I also know that in that realm of Christianity, even though I go to a church that is fairly spiritual in nature, there is still some religiosity in every church, in every denomination, and sometimes that religiosity can stifle your spiritual growth, right? Because religion tends to draw a line between God and nature. Let me say it again. Religion tends to draw a line between God and nature. Spirituality says God and nature are the same essence. Right? So when I say that we got to get out of our religious box so that our spirit can flourish, then that is what I'm talking about here. And I'm not talking about you getting out of your denomination, you getting out of your religion or your religious affiliation. No, I'm talking about in every religion there is certain religious guidelines and principles that can hinder your spiritual growth and can keep you from ascending to greater heights if you're not careful. Right? We have to understand that there is a connection between spirituality and everything that is, right? You know, Michael Baisden, he used to be syndicated here in St. Louis on a radio program, and he had this phrase that I love, and I still love today. I haven't heard him in years, but he said, "Everything is everything." And he'd say it in a joking manner, and people call into the show and say, "Hey, what's up, Mike? Hey, everything is everything." But I want y'all to understand the power in that statement. Everything is everything. And that's when we can understand the fullness of that statement. Yeah, he's back in certain markets. They ran him out of St. Louis. When we can understand that's the truth in that statement, everything is everything, that's when you can break the chains of religiosity and spiritual growth can truly take place. Everything is everything. Right? The ancestors say we are not humans. We are spiritual beings having a human experience, not human beings having a spiritual experience. Right? We are spiritual beings having a human experience, meaning that we are in this existence as humans for a short time. So why would you allow human religiosity to trap your mind for the short length of time that you're going to be in this existence when we are eternal? Right? Now you said that I can speak freely and we still be friends, right? Are we still friends? Everybody, we still good, right? We still good. So number one, you have to seek spiritual growth always. Seek spiritual truth always, because there's an ascension that can take place if you're seeking spiritual truth always. Because I will tell you, some of the greatest strides that I've seen in my spiritual growth and development came far from a church's doors, a church's pews. I was so far removed from the church when I had so many of my spiritual breakthroughs that if you're not careful, you'll miss out on some great opportunities for spiritual growth because you're trapped in religion. Right? If you're not careful, you will miss out on some tremendous opportunities for spiritual growth if you're trapped in the box of religion. Right? So number one, we're talking about George C. Fraser's 7 moral and spiritual principles of success. Desmond, what's going on, my man? We need to talk. I'll be headed to the Shy, man, probably next month. So let's talk. You'll miss the opportunity of some tremendous spiritual growth if you're allowing yourself to be trapped in the box of religion and religiosity and those sorts of things. So that's number one. 7 moral and spiritual principles of success, right? Number one, and here are the steps. Get out of that spiritual box. As you're seeking spiritual growth, you can't do it in the confines of that spiritual box, right? Just like with any other success, just like any other growth, you got to get out of your comfort zone, get out of being comfortable with some of the principles and things, and start looking at some other things from different perspectives, right? You got to get out of that box when you're seeking spiritual growth. Because if you only seek spiritual growth within the confines of that box, you could never really, truly ascend, right? Understand the fullness of the statement, everything is everything. Everything is everything, y'all. Everything is everything. When you understand the fullness of the statement, you will allow yourselves to have breakthroughs that are unparalleled, man. This is it. Everything is everything. We are all part and parcel of one existence. It is only the man of wickedness that wants to separate and parse everything out as if we are all different, as if we all should be set on different pedestals. No, everything is everything. And when you understand the fullness of that statement, you will begin to traverse down a spiritual journey that you've probably been seeking your entire life. We are spiritual beings having a human experience, not human beings having a spiritual experience. You got to understand that, y'all. This is bigger than the 70, 80, 90 years that you're going to spend on this planet, right? So keep that in mind. That was number one, 7 moral and spiritual principles of success. Number 2, give first, share always. Number 2, give first, share always. Right? And again, this is coming from George C. Fraser's Race for Success. Right? George C. Fraser's Race for Success. And I know some of you guys may be thinking to yourself, man, those are biblical principles, right? Those are principles out of the Quran. Those are principles out of spiritual texts. They are, man, because again, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. So whenever truth is given, it is of the spirit, right? So when you hear truth, usually you can find it in scriptural text because truth is spiritual. Truth is in itself spiritual, right? So give first, share always, right? A lot of times I get from some of my peers, man, you giving up too much game in your morning show for free. Right? You give so much information for free when you should be charging for that. You know, a lot of people do coaching programs and they charge for the information that I give away for free. But what I understand is fully the laws of reciprocity. What I understand fully is the laws of reciprocity. I give up a lot of stuff for free, but when I offer something for sale, people still buy. Because I've sown into them so much that they feel that, you know, that's just a way to repay me for sowing into their lives. They sign up for my next class is the video marketing class. People signing up like crazy. Right? Even though I give so much information, I give so many tips on video marketing for free, they still sign up for the class. Because there's a law called the law of reciprocity. When we studied the mental laws, that was one of them. So many people are missing this, that the Bible says that a man like me will reap where I have not sown. And the reason that I can reap where I have not sown is because I have sown so many seeds. I have scattered so many seeds. A1, it is, I have the description, it's in the description. You'll see a link in the description above this video. And if I need to send it to you directly, I'll shoot it over to you when we're done. A lot of, I can reap where I have not sown because I've sown some of everywhere. Right? I can reap where I have not sown because I have sown some of everywhere. Right? I'm constantly giving, where sometimes I'm in places where the harvest is to be picked, but I have not sown any of those seeds. Well, guess what? The law of reciprocity says the reason I can reap where I have not sown is because I've sown so many seeds that I'm not going to be able to come back and reap that harvest. Somebody else is going to reap the harvest of the things that I'm teaching you here today. I will reap the harvest from teaching from some of you because some of you guys are very connected to me, but others are not. But you're going to grow. You're going to have some breakthroughs, and you're going to partner with somebody else, right? Knowing the limitations of our religion, how do you deal with Christianity? Good question. Good question. Let me get to that when we finish this, right? Knowing that I have scattered so many seeds, some of you guys are blessed by today's show. You're going to grow, and you're going to go partner with somebody else, and they're going to reap the benefits or the harvest of the growth that you've experienced because of seeds that I've sown. And I do the same thing. So the law of reciprocity says if you put out and you sow into people, it will come back to you pressed down, shaken together, and running over. That's why my cup runneth over, because I give first and I share always. I have people call me who have not joined any of my programs. Right? They haven't joined any of my programs, but they call me and ask for advice. And I could be a flat out jerk and just say, man, go talk to the people that you're paying coaching fees to. I could be a flat out jerk and say, hey, you don't coach with me. Go get this advice from the people you coach from. But that's not in my nature, because I understand the laws of reciprocity. So I teach and I share, and when people hit me up like that, I can drop a nugget or two on them and then send them a PayPal link and say, hey, let's make this official. But that's kind of just who I am. So I had a question from Periscope, said, when you understand that there's limitations with all the religions, how do you deal with the limitations of Christianity? It's simple. Understanding the difference between religion and spirituality is what makes a difference for me. When you understand the difference between religion and spirituality, makes the difference. See, when a lot of Christian ministries are moving to the complete understanding of the relationship with the Creator, and when you can fully immerse yourself in that relationship with the Creator, I think it will supersede any limitations of any religion. And I know there's a lot of limitations when it comes to Christianity, and there's a lot of, he say, she say, back and forth and all that kind of stuff. But I believe what I believe, and I believe that belief was placed in me and then solidified in me with my relationship with my Creator. So I think when you understand the difference between spirituality and religion, and you continually seek spiritual growth, I think you can overcome the limitations of a religion, and seek that personal and that intimate relationship with the Creator. And I believe that's what I have. So give first, share always. So I'm going to give you some quotes. So I'm not going to do the quote of the day, because in this book, when he broke down these 7 principles, he gave some good quotes. So I'm just going to give you one of the quotes that he listed for give first. He says, when you clench your fist No one can put anything in your hand, nor can you pick anything up. When you clench your fist, right? And this is what a lot of people are doing with their knowledge, with their money, with their relationships, with their time. They're clenching their fist because they don't want any of it to get away. I don't want any of my money to get away. I don't want any of my time to get away. I don't want to donate or volunteer for charity work or anything. I don't want any of my money to get away. I don't want any of my time to get away. But when you clench your fist trying to keep stuff from getting away, no one can put anything in your hand, nor can you pick anything up. And that's from the great Alex Haley. It's from Alex Haley. And when you understand the laws of reciprocity, then you know that you keep your hand open. You keep your hand open. Because what's for me is for me. And it's going to land on this hand. If it's not for me, then it's going to be in my spirit to give it away or to sow it into someone else's life. Right? See, we have to remember that we are conduits. That means things flow through us and not to us. You hear me talk a lot about building wealth, but that wealth is going to flow through me and not to me. Right? And again, wealth is an abundance of resources, not just an abundance of money. We are conduits. That the reason I'm attracting wealth to me is so that wealth will flow through me and into my community. Right? That's what the Black Wealth Movement is all about. So wealth can flow through me. I wanted to attract it to me, but not so that I can hoard it, but so that it can flow through me and we can move our agendas forward with economic empowerment and development of our communities that are flat out falling apart. So that's important, right? So when you clench your fist, no one can put anything in your hand, nor can you pick anything up. I want you to always remember that. See, we hold on to our money tightly because we don't want it to get away from us. But while you're holding on to what you have so tightly, can't any new money come in? Can any new resources come in? Neither can you pick any up when you see the opportunity to do so. That's first. It makes me think about when as a young man you would talk trash, you get into arguments and people will talk about what they're gonna do to you and all of that kind of stuff. And where I'm from, they say in order to get some, you gotta bring some. Right? I don't know why I thought of that just right now, but you can't get any new money, any new resources without opening your hand and risking the chance of losing some old money, some old resources. You can't start any new relationships without risking the chance to lose some old relationships. That's just the way it works. You can't get around that. Every time I start a new relationship with somebody, that person has the potential to take up more of my time because of the newness of that relationship, which means I'm giving less of my time from to somebody who's existing in my life, and I risk the chance of losing that existing person to make room for the new person. But guess what? If it was meant to be and they were meant for me, they both remain in my life. They both remain in my life. Here's another quote. A sure way for one to lift himself up is to lift others up. A sure way to lift oneself up is to lift others up. And that's Booker T. Washington. A sure way to lift oneself up is to lift others up. right? So number one of the 7 moral and spiritual principles of success by George C. Fraser. Number 1 is seek spiritual growth always. Number 2, give first, share always. Give first, share always. Number 3, discover your unique purpose. Discover your unique purpose. This is critically major. Discover your unique purpose. Because we get into this thing, hey Ray, we get into this thing of competition. We get in this thing of hoarding knowledge and resources and things because we think that we are in competition. And the only time you're in competition is when you jump in somebody else's lane. I'm going to say that again. The only time you're in competition is when you jump in somebody else's lane. Right? The reason that I don't compete with a Evan or a Andre Hatchett or a Dr. Boyce Watkins or any of these people who do some of the same things that I do, because I have a lane that has been specifically and uniquely carved out for me. And guess what? There are no other vehicles in that lane but mine. The only reason or only way you can get caught up in competing with somebody else is if you jump in their lane. I stay in my lane, they stay in their lane, and there is no competition. But guess what? When I stay in my lane, they stay in your lane. Scarcity and lack are created fiction. Absolutely. Absolutely. When I stay in my lane, you stay in your lane, and guess what? There's no competition, but there's all sorts of room for collaboration. You know, Trevor Ott says it best. 1 + 1 is 2. 1 and 1 is 11. 1 + 1 is 2. 1 and 1 is 11. So you have to discover your unique purpose. Every man is born into this world to do something unique. If he doesn't do it, it doesn't get done. Benjamin Mays. Every man is born into the world to do something unique. If he doesn't do it, it doesn't get done. Benjamin Mays. You have to discover that for you. Why, you know, the ancient proverb says there's the two most important days of your life. It's the day you were born and the day you find out why. 2 most important days of your life. The day you were born and the day you find out why. Have you found out why you were put here on this planet in this particular space of time? Have you found out why you've been placed on this planet in this particular space of time? And why you weren't born in the 1900s? Why you weren't born in the 1800s? Why you weren't born in the 2030s, 2050s? Right? Why this space of time? What is there for you to do on this planet in this particular space of time that could not be accomplished 100 years ago, that couldn't be accomplished 100 years from now? That's why you were born in this particular space of time. Because there's a certain amount of resources, there's a certain amount of energy, there's a certain thought process, there's a certain amount of the power structure is a certain way for you to be able to accomplish what you've been placed here to do. Have you figured out why you're here yet? Have you figured out why you are here? Scarcity and lack are invented fictions. A man had that right on Periscope. Right? There is no such thing as lack. If everything ultimately comes from the earth, and the earth is growing, how are we missing anything? Why is there a lack? Scarcity and lack is a man-made fiction. Because capitalism doesn't work without it. Scarcity and lack is a man-made fiction because capitalism doesn't work without it. All right, you talk about the Hellsbergs and the Beers and those families owning all of the diamond mines, and they making you think that diamonds are rare. The only reason that diamonds are rare is because they control all the mines, and they can ration out how many diamonds they put into the marketplace at one time. And that's what increases the value when you think something is rare. If they didn't control the diamond mines, everybody would have diamonds and they'd be worth nothing. Scarcity and lack is a man-made fiction. Capitalism doesn't work without it. So, we're talking about finding or discovering your unique purpose. Why are you here? Why are you here on this show listening to me talk right now? Could that be because the Spirit might move me to say something that will help you discover your unique purpose? Got to remember, man, that's why I said if you understand the fullness of that statement, everything is everything. So everything that you do, see, say, or exposed to is connected to the discovery and the unveiling and the unwrapping of your purpose. But one of the reasons we miss it is because we allow so many distractions in our life. When's the last time you got quiet with God? The last time you hopped in a car and turned the radio off and just drove a few miles with the silence of your inner being speaking to you? The last time you came into your home and the first thing you did was not turn the TV on. And sometimes in today's society, when we come in, it's already on because it never goes off. When's the last time you just sat in your backyard and listened to the grass grow? See, everybody has a homing beacon inside that will guide them to their purpose. But the sound of that beacon, that when you have a homing beacon, a tracking device, it beeps, right? Do, do, do. And then as you get closer and closer to it, the beeps are more repetitive. Do, 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 do. See, everybody has inside that sort of device, but the sound, the volume of that device is so incredibly faint that you have to concentrate to hear it. And you can't concentrate to hear that while you're listening to Empire or the Housewives. You can't concentrate and hear it while you're listening to or paying attention to the NBA draft coming up and all these sorts of things. You have to take some time out of your schedule every day to get still, to get quiet, and listen at where that sound, where that voice is guiding you to. Every day you have to do that. Because if you only did it every once in a while, it's like a ship that is traveling long distance. And if that ship is traveling long distance and is not course correcting almost by the minute, that ship can be so far off course in a couple miles that it will be hard to recover. Your ship can get so far off course if you're not doing this regularly. So if you miss a couple days where you're just veering left just a little bit, but because tomorrow you didn't get quiet and listen so you can course correct back to the right a little bit, and you go 2-3 days in that same direction, by the time you do realize, oh, I need to course correct, you're so far off course that it takes you so much to get back on course, you start to think to yourself, oh, forget it, I'm just going to keep traveling this road. But if you get quiet, you get still every day, you can make those minuscule, those micro adjustments every day, moment to moment. You can keep making those micro adjustments. And that can take you where you want to be. It will lead you to your discovery. That's why you are passionate about the things that you're passionate about. If I ask you all right now, where did that passion start? Where did it come from? You couldn't tell me. I couldn't tell you why I'm so passionate about helping kids. I just know there's a passion in me for that. And I believe that passion was put in me by my Creator, so that passion will ultimately guide me to my purpose, why I'm here. Are you getting quiet and still so you can listen to that direction that is in you, but that direction will never cry out to you? That direction will never scream your name. That direction is a little whisper. You know, one of those sounds is so faint that you wonder if you even hear it at all when you do hear it. Cortez. Hey, somebody just called my name? Oh. Cortez. What? I swear I heard somebody call my name. Man, I must be going crazy. And then you write it off. But it's that little faint voice that is trying to guide you to your purpose so you can start walking in who you are. But you gotta tune in. You gotta tune in. That's number 3. Discover your unique purpose. Number 4. This is number 4. Find inspiration in your suffering. Find inspiration in your suffering. And this is easy to diagnose. The reason we can't find inspiration in our suffering is because, number 1, we don't want nobody to know that we're suffering. Number 2, we spend so much time trying to avoid suffering. Instead of finding the inspiration in our suffering. Right? Now, again, I'm a Christian man. I don't know what anybody's religious affiliations are, if you have one. But as a Christian man, I'm taught that there is nothing that I go through or have ever gone through or will ever go through that has not been ordained by God. Even my suffering, you know, you think about the story of Job. Job had to get permission to meddle in, the devil had to get permission to meddle in Job's life. He had to get permission. So nothing I go through I don't go through anything that's not allowed by my Creator. So instead of running from the suffering, instead of hiding the suffering, avoiding the suffering, I've learned to start asking almost immediately, what are you trying to show me? What is the lesson in this suffering? Because the quicker I can extract the lesson, the chances are the quicker I can get out of the suffering. But some of us are running from the suffering. Some of us are not willing to extract the inspiration from that suffering. Right? You guys know my story, the molestation, the abuse, the neglect, everything that I've gone through to bring me here. I probably could have been here 20 years ago, but I didn't want to face the suffering. I didn't want to deal with the suffering. I didn't want anybody to know that I was suffering. I was bleeding out inside. So worst kind of bleeding you can have is internal bleeding. I was bleeding out on the inside. And it wasn't until I embraced the suffering that I started to be able to draw inspiration from it. And that's what propels me today. Are you embracing your suffering, or are you running from it? Are you putting your suffering under a rock so nobody knows you're suffering? The Bible says of Job, talk about somebody suffering. The Bible says when the first servant brought him news of some of the calamities that he was going through, losing his family, losing everything. I got you, Bethany. Thanks you, Robert. The Bible says of Job's suffering, when the servant brought him news, the first servant couldn't even finish telling him the news of the initial loss before the second servant was coming with more loss. You're talking about suffering. How many of you guys are able to embrace and draw inspiration from that kind of suffering? The first servant came to bring news. Before he yet finished, the second servant came in to bring him more bad news. Before he yet finished, the third servant came and brought him even more bad news. All to get him to curse God. And what did Job do? He embraced the suffering. Drew inspiration from the suffering. Some of you guys are suffering right now, right? Some of you guys are suffering right now, and you need to take Robert's advice. He tore his clothes, fell on his face, and worshiped. Right? If the scripture says God inhabits the praises of his people, and you're under attack by the devil, and you start appraising the God in the midst of that attack, and God is inhabiting that praise, then is that where somewhere the devil wants to be? Right? And that's one of those things that you got to realize. If God inhabits the praises of his people, and you're suffering right now, but you're refusing to praise because of your suffering, then you're allowing the devil to stick around. But if I'm suffering and I learn to praise in the midst of my suffering, that brings God into my suffering. And the cause of my suffering will flee. Right? God got me preaching this morning, man. Hey, listen, man. You got to find inspiration in your suffering, in your struggle. If you don't, then it's almost for naught. You will stay in that struggle a little bit longer. And I'm gonna give you a story, and we'll get out of here, man. And I love this story. Some of you guys have heard it before. And my mom told me this years and years ago, because again, from what I went through from age 4 to 7, 8, the neglect, all of that stuff, I never told anybody. And when I told my mom and she realized it was her brother who caused a lot of this trauma, she wanted to kill him, right? You guys know how Mama Bear can be, right? Her brother, this is her blood brother, right? She wanted to kill him. But she told me the story of the eagle and the storm, right? The eagle and the storm. And the story goes like this. The eagle, whenever he sees the storm approaching, he would always fly away from the storm. So he's got his nest and he's chilling. Young eagle sees the storm coming, and as the storm approaches, he flies away from the storm, right? He flapped and he flew, he flapped and he flew, he flapped and he flew. And he says to himself, I'm one of God's fastest creations, land, air, or sea. No storms, no matter how big, can ever catch me, right? And he fly away. And then he get to a place where the sun is shining. He build him a new nest, and he gets his chill on, and he's chilling. But 6 months down the road, the storm is approaching again. The storm is approaching again. And as he sees the storm approaching, he's not worried, because he knows, as he says to himself, as he's flying away, he flapped and he flew, he flapped and he flew. I'm one of God's greatest creations, land, air, or sea. No storm is ever fast enough to catch me. So he gets to a new destination, the sun is shining. But what happens over time, as he continues to run from the storm, he starts to realize that he has less and less time between storms. So first it was 6 months, then it was 3 months, then it was 2 months, then it was 1 month. Then he run from the storm 1 week, and then the next week the storm is right up on him again. Until one day he got tired of running. He got frustrated. He said, why the heck can I get away from this storm? So he made an about face. And this time, instead of running from the storm, he flew directly into the storm. And as he flew into the storm, he changed his narrative. It was no longer running from the storm. As he flew into the storm, he flapped and he flew and he flapped and he flew. And he changed the narrative, and he said to himself, I'm one of God's bravest creations, land, air, or sea. No storm, no matter how big, will ever scare me. And he continued to fly right into the storm. But as he flew into the storm, he hit a turbulence. And the turbulence would knock him back a little bit. And he'd be tempted to turn around and run out of the storm. But he said, you know what? I'm one of God's bravest creations, land, air, or sea. No storm, no matter how strong, will ever scare me. And he continued to fly directly into the storm. He flapped and he flew and he flapped and he flew, and he hit another turbulence, and that turbulence knocked him back a little bit further. And again, he was tempted to turn around, but before he turned around, he drew inspiration and said, no, I'm one of God's greatest creations, land, air, or sea. No storm, no matter how fierce, will ever scare me. And he kept flying into the heart of the storm, until he hit the last turbulence, knocked him back a little bit, and he continued to charge right in the storm. And before long, he realized, before he got to the eye of the storm, he was flying high above the storm. See, some of you guys are running from your storm. And you need to do what the eagle did. You need to make an about face, and you need to change your narrative. You need to make an about face, and you need to change your narrative. He went from one of God's fastest creations to one of God's bravest creations, and he weathered the storm. And before long, before he got to the worst part of the storm, because he faced the storm head on, God hit him with a couple of turbulences in the midst of the storm. And before he got into the most destructive part of the storm, God elevated him so he could look down on the most destructive part and not be caught up in the most destructive part. Some of you guys are facing storms in your life right now, and you need to about face, and you need to change the narrative. So guys, we're going to do part 2 to this on Thursday. Tomorrow we have a special guest on, so we're going to do a part 2 to this, where I'll give you the other 3 moral and spiritual principles of success according to my man George C. Fraser. And we will reconvene on this tomorrow. I have Marquell Russell coming into the studio, a financial freedom architect, I like to call him. Brother is bad with the internet and teaching people how to transform their passions into profits. So again, if you guys want to register for the video marketing class, the link is in the description, and just go ahead and register. It's $47. But you will get me for 2.5 hours. I literally took videos and transformed my business and built a brand, recruited over 100 people into my network marketing company, and over 300 total. I've grown my fan page to nearly 14,000 fans. YouTube is almost at 1,000. So it's video is a very powerful component. And when business, you have to get people to know, like, and trust you. And outside of interacting with people live and in the flesh, the second best way to get people to know, like, and trust you is through video. So I'll teach you some tricks and tips on how to use video to explode your business. Even if you don't like to get in front of the camera, I'm going to show you how to use celebrity videos to explode your brand as well. So I got a lot of stuff in store for you guys on how to build your brand using video. So register for that. If you guys have not already joined the Black Wealth Movement, man, you got to get in, so we can teach you how to minimize your taxes, eliminate your debt, fix your credit, start investing, and then we can even turn that into a financial education franchise for you if you want to build a business around those things. So with that, I'm your main man, H. Cortez, the one and only financial health mentor to the black community. Until I talk to you guys tomorrow, I want you to get your money up, because you absolutely can do it. Peace out, y'all.